apply your headphones, that would be great. Thank you. So, wow. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tim Ball. I am from a company called InEvent. We are an all-in-one event management platform. We are situated just next door here. We'd love you to come and talk to us, and we are the main sponsors of the stage today. Our next session today is about tech-powered unity, about harnessing event technology to foster unified communities in hybrid events. We are joined today for this session by Lisa Schulteis. Lisa is the founder and owner of ElectraLime Marketing and Your Event Marketplace, as well as the executive director of the Northwest Event Show in Seattle. She brings a wealth of experience in both live and virtual events. Throughout Lisa's career, she has been a trusted partner for Fortune 500 companies, organizations, and associations, assisting them in achieving business growth and scalability through the strategic incorporation of events within their marketing plans. I'm looking forward to this session. Should be really interesting. If you would like to post any questions, please scan the QR code here to go on Pigeonhole, and we'll address those questions at the end. Over to you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. I also want to acknowledge anybody who is going to be watching this as a recorded session later. And today we are going to talk about how to harness event technology to be able to create those unified communities that we all want in hybrid events. Now, my first question always starts with why. A lot of times when I say hybrid events, people start rolling their eyes at me. They don't want to do them. They're like, nope, we're back to live, right? And there's a lot of reasons that we want to consider hybrid, and there's a lot of reasons that we want to consider making these communities. One is basically enhanced engagement. You know, engagement is kind of the big word that everybody seems to want at their events. And it's really hard sometimes to be able to find that engagement and actually have people engage with you. So we want to use these communities to go ahead and enhance engagement. We also want a wider reach and inclusivity. Some people can't simply come to our events for whatever reason. Maybe they have kids at home. Maybe they hate travel. Maybe the travel is too far. Maybe it's another one of 100 different reasons that they can't come. So we are able to have a larger, global, wider reach, and we're able to provide inclusivity for our attendees. That sustained engagement beyond the event. So many times, people think, great, the event's over, it's the end of the day, we've loaded out, we're done. And we're not, right? That engagement needs to continue 365. It doesn't end the day that our event ends. Collaboration and co-creation. This is one that I think a lot of people miss. We have some huge opportunities with our attendees and our sponsors and other exhibitors to have that co-creation, to have that collaboration. We're going to talk about that in a little bit here. And then building that brand loyalty and building your brand, having that community throughout the year, creating that community, creating that tribe can actually really help build that brand and the brand loyalty. And then scalability and adaptability. In most cases, we all want our events to get bigger, either in the number of events that we're holding, number of attendees that are coming. We want to be able to scale those, and we want to be able to adapt. So we definitely want to use that for the community as well. And then the data-driven insights. It's one of the beauties of hybrid events and using a platform. We get a lot more data when we're utilizing a platform than when we do when we're simply doing a live event. So we want to have those data-driven insights. But there's challenges. There's a lot of challenges with hybrid events, right? Not only with the event, but building that community within the event. So one of those is the diverse attendee needs and expectations. And you all have probably noticed since the pandemic, attendee expectations have changed. They've upped. right? They expect a lot more from us, and we need to be able to meet those, and sometimes that's really hard to do. We have technical challenges. Putting on a hybrid event technically can be very challenging. We have to deal with live streams now. We have to deal with backups. We have to deal with recordings. There's a lot of things that we're having to deal with that we didn't have to deal with an only live event. Engagement and interaction. Engagement online is hard. Does anybody here host virtual or hybrid events? Engagement online is hard, right? We want to be able to provide that for them. We want to be able to have them feel like they're not missing out on anything even though they're not there, and working with them to do that is very, very difficult to do. Networking between attendees, relationship building, that's also a challenge. So we want to take a look at what tools that we can use to create those unified experiences for people. So from a hybrid event standpoint, there's some really important tools that we need to have. Whatever platform you're using, you have to have production involved. A lot of people try not to have production involved. My favorite people are always sitting in the back of this room because they're the ones that actually make this possible for us. We have to be able to have live streaming with high quality audio and high quality video. You have to have an event app that serves both your in-person audience as well as your remote audience. And we'll talk about some different ways that that's going to happen. And then we have to have that synchronized content delivery with Q&A added in. And that can be very, very difficult. It's very easy in a live setting like this for somebody to ask a question, whether we're using Pigeonhole, whether we have a floor mic, whether we're throwing a cube, right? It's always easier in person. But when we have remote attendees, we need to be able to incorporate them into this Q&A so that they also feel like they're part of the room. And to be able to do that where they can hear everything going on in the room, that's probably one of the biggest complaints of remote attendees, right? Is when somebody asks a question, it's not on the floor mic, and they can't hear it. But we also want the people in the room to, at a minimum, be able to hear what the attendees are asking. Even in ideal situations, it's great when we can bring them in visually. That requires a little bit more tech, but it makes a huge difference. And then real-time translation and captioning. We have an example here with Interprify. We actually use them for our events. And to be able to have that not only for translation purposes if somebody speaks a different language, but sometimes we need to maybe rehear something by reading it as to what somebody said. Every once in a while, my American accent is, somebody looks at me and says, I have no idea what you just said, right? So we want to be able to bring in those different translation and captioning opportunities for people, both in person as well as those who are attending remotely. So you want to use those digital interactivity tools and those engagement tools to continue to build that community. So here's some engagement ones. Obviously, we have some of the basic ones that we've had for a while, right? We have polls, we have interactive quizzes, we have gamification, we have social media that we can utilize. Gamification, most people hate it because most people use it wrong, right? A lot of times they'll be like, oh, if you send John a message, you get 10 points. And then what happens? I start spamming every single person in the app, right? I sent them a message, I get 10 points. That's not what gamification is, right? We want to have meaningful gamification that people are utilizing so that maybe they are learning how to navigate through the platform. Maybe they're learning how to interact with people. So we want to use that in the right way. We use photo booths a lot, virtual photo booths. It's just a way for people to put a name with a face, and it's a lot of fun, especially if you do some fun frames on it. We do matchmaking, we do one-on-one meetings, and again, that real-time Q&A. But allow your people to connect with each other. Allow your remote attendees to be able to matchmake or one-on-one meet with your live attendees. It's a great way to give them global access when you're building your own global access. Okay? And then one of the big things with the remote attendees is you want to acknowledge them. This requires some speaker training. I don't know how many events I have been at where they were live streaming and the speakers not once acknowledged the remote attendees. It makes them feel like they don't matter. The other thing that I see a lot is a speaker will have a remote in their hand and their slide comes up and they turn and they use the laser, and the remote attendees, of course, are like, we have no idea what you're doing, right? They can't see that. And speakers don't understand that because they think whatever happens up here is being projected. Well, sometimes it's just the PowerPoint that's being projected. So train your speakers that if they have something they want to highlight on that slide, they need to actually highlight it on the slide, right? Put a box around it, put flashing arrows to it, do something in PowerPoint that they can actually highlight what's going on, because you want to acknowledge those remote attendees, be able to know that they're having that same experience, or at least close to it that the live attendees are, to continue to build that community. And then networking. I think this is probably one of the hardest things to do in the hybrid space. We spend a lot of time working on this area. So we're going to use those digital platforms. Again, there's a number of platforms even to choose from on this floor. You want to make sure that you're using one that has a networking capability where the remote attendees can actually network with the live attendees, whether that's in breakout rooms. We do topic breakout rooms a lot. Make sure you have a facilitator in there, because if you put a bunch of people in a breakout room without a facilitator, one of two things will happen. They'll either all come in, talk about nothing and leave, or somebody will start talking about their cat or their dog, and then your topic's completely gone, right? So make sure that you have a facilitator in there and use those. Those individual messaging capabilities, you've probably seen it in the app that we're using for this event, that you're able to message people who are in that app. Have that capability for both your remote and your in-person attendees so that they can message each other. They may not be able to arrange a meeting on the floor, but they can arrange a meeting online. So give them that capability. Those virtual networking lounges, again, make sure that there's some kind of moderation going in there, some kind of facilitation going on in there. And then that AI-powered matchmaking. We're all about AI these days, right? I can't go into a conversation about an event without talking about AI with somebody. I was just speaking last week to MPI and PCMA event regarding AI. Make sure that we have those AI-powered matchmaking capabilities within there. So you want to create those shared digital communities for your attendees. Okay, give them a place to go. It makes you look like a hero. This is one of my favorite little images of this little girl. It makes you look like a hero. You want to give them as many capabilities and opportunities as you can. So what we're starting to do now is to use that online platform as a community space. So again, I mentioned our event doesn't actually end on the day our event ends. Our event actually doesn't start on the day our event starts. We have now transitioned to a 365 effort so that we're talking to people before our event, during our event, and after our event to give them that community, to give them that feeling that they're part of this family, and it really helps us in the long run as well. So we are doing pre-event engagement. So an example is, one of my 3 companies that I run, we have a show in Seattle in April. It's an event for the events industry, and we're doing pre-event engagement. So we are doing a co-branded webinar in December with Event Mobi, who happens to be our platform for that event. We are going to be doing additional pre-event communication with them, pre-event education with them, and what we're doing is we're getting them into Event Mobi before the event. Why? 1, to get them used to the platform. 2, to allow them to start having conversations with each other before the event. 3, we're going to start having conversations with them before the event as well. What do you want us to be talking about in terms of content? What's important for you at this event? So a lot of pre-event engagement that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing those online workshops with them, pre-post event as well. We're going to have discussion forums on there. I can guarantee you one of them is going to be about AI. No question about it, right? We put out a survey last week. What do people want us talking about the event? At the event, what's the #1 response? It was AI, right? It's the big hot topic. So we're going to have those different discussion forums on there. We're going to encourage content sharing. We don't have to be the only ones creating content. So we're going to encourage content sharing with our users. Our post-event engagement, it goes beyond the survey, right? We need to be talking to people post-event. And then that community outreach. So getting them in there, creating that community, and then using that community to then get out to additional people. So we can have conversations and say, who should you bring to to this event with you? Who's never been here? Bring one person who's never been here before. We'll give them a free admission. It's a great way for us to continue that community outreach and build our community as well. And then user-generated content. I love this piece. You know why? Because it means I don't have to create all the content. By using user-generated content, we are able to amplify our participants or our sponsor contributions. So we have sponsors that write content for us, who are experts in their field. We have users write content for us who are experts in their field. So not only are they supplying us with content, but they're actually able to share their knowledge with our community, which is just a benefit to our community. We're doing live streamed attendee content. So again, taking that experience, taking that knowledge, and being able to share it with our community and being able to live stream that, whether we're doing a smaller webinar or whether we're doing a larger event, but utilizing that content. Virtual collaboration walls. I love doing a virtual whiteboard that says, here's our issue, how do we solve? Because there's a lot of smart people in this room who may have different ideas than I do, or even better ideas than I do. So we want to be able to do those virtual collaboration walls, whether it's a whiteboard, whether it's a discussion forum, whether it's some other format, to be able to provide that for them. Attendee blogging, we have some attendees and sponsors who write blogs for us. It's great content. Again, we're not having to generate it. We're able to share that knowledge. And then the post-event content sharing. How many of you actually repurpose your content from your event? So all of these different speeches going on stage, you do? A couple of heads are nodding, that's good. Do you know how many people don't? I would say at least 50%, if not higher, of events. They record the content, they might slap it up on a platform somewhere, but they don't actually reuse it. They don't use it for social posts. They don't use it for re-releasing if it was gated previously, right, to be able to re-release that. There are tools out there now that you can put the content in and say, give me 5 social posts that are based on this content, or give me a blog post based on this content, right? And so this is allowing us to use that post-event content and share it out. It's all of our speakers, but we're able to repurpose it and share it out and build that community, because again, we're providing value, and that's what the community is all about. So the big note here is really to get creative, right? It's to find different ways that you can use that content. It's to find different ways that you can use community, and to find different ways that you can engage with people, because that's really what some of our biggest challenges are. And if you can find those, even if it's just one thing that you implement, sometimes people get really overwhelmed. If you can find one thing to implement that's new, that you can use to build that community, and then add one more. And then once you have that going, add one more, right? It's really, it's just getting creative, looking at your attendees, your users, and knowing what they need. So we want to be able to provide that for them. So implementing that long-term community engagement, that's going to continue to build your relationships. And we do that with the hybrid events. So even if you're doing live only right now, I really want to encourage you to consider adding that hybrid portion in. And the reason is because there's a very large percentage of your attendees that you could be missing. I didn't include it in these slides, I probably should have. We ran some numbers for 2022 for our events through my primary business. And we were looking at all of our hybrid events to see how many people were actually attending remotely versus in person. And we ran these numbers on events from about 150 people up to, we had a very large hybrid of 13,000 people. It's a huge event. And in every single case, the number of remote attendees were between 50 and 70%. That's not the amount of people that I want to give up and not have something for them, right? We want to be able to meet people where they are. Obviously, we all love live events. It's why we're here today. We love being able to see people. I'm a hugger. Y'all are forewarned if you come near me. I come up to my, people I haven't seen in forever, right? I only get over here a couple times a year. I love being able to reconnect with people in person, give them a hug, tell them hello. But there's times I can't do that. So if I can go ahead and attend something remotely, I'm going to absolutely do that as well. So just start looking at your numbers, because if you're seeing these high percentages, even if it's 25 or 30%, are you willing to give up that 25 or 30% of your attendees and not provide this experience in this community for them? So just start looking at your numbers and see what your numbers are and see what you need to do in terms of that community engagement and those relationships. So just to close out, a few reminders here. First off, hybrid events can ensure that every participant feels valued, whether they are in person or attending remotely. The right technology and planning is crucial for a successful hybrid event. And lastly, the future of events revolve around that community engagement. If you're not building community, your attendees are not going to continue to interact with you. So you want to be sure that you're doing that, because that's really where future of events is going, is to having that year-round community and having that hybrid experience, providing that year-round. And that's it. If you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and scan the QR code over here. If you want to chat about creating community at your next event, if you have any questions, you can connect with me. This is just my hi, hello card. There's no opt-in, I promise. But you can connect with me, schedule some time to chat with me. We work really, really hard at building those communities, and I'm happy to talk anybody through that. So thank you very much for that. If you have any questions, go ahead and scan the QR code over here on the right, my right.
Thank you, Lisa. That was an amazing session. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Lisa at all? No? Then all it leaves me to do is to say thank you, Lisa. Thank you for that great session, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everybody.
This is the InEvent Theatre. If you'd like to come and meet with us, find out about InEvent, we're right next door. Thank you.